It's Wednesday, March 12th, 2025, and I've got an update for you on our next major storm. We've got a big one on the way. We're talking about a multi-day regional severe weather outbreak and potential tornado outbreak. We're talking about an extreme wildfire risk. We're talking about potentially some flash flooding and a blizzard all at the same time. So let's not waste any time and dive right into the forecast. Starting off on Friday, March 14th, 2025, we've got a fresh SPC outlook, hot off the presses. Big time enhanced risk of severe weather from southeast Iowa all the way down into northwestern portions of Alabama. This is a huge day 3 enhanced risk. We don't see these very often, and it's very likely that at least a portion of this risk area will be upgraded to a higher risk probability as we approach the storm system. Some of the places that need to be on the lookout for severe weather on this day include Peoria, Illinois, Springfield. How about you down there in St. Louis? Pretty much all of southwestern Kentucky and western Tennessee, including Memphis. This also includes places like Tupelo, Mississippi, and it's just about to the Huntsville, Alabama region. This looks like it's going to be a pretty dangerous day for severe weather, but I personally believe that our main problem on Friday is going to be straight line damaging winds. This is going to be one of those systems where we've got a giant wall of severe storms literally spanning almost the entire country, and we're going to have thousands and thousands of tree damage reports, roof damage to homes, mobile homes being flipped over and stuff like that. But I don't know if it will be mostly driven by tornadoes. I think that this is definitely going to be mostly a damaging wind threat, which a lot of times can be just as impactful as a tornado event, especially when it affects 20, 30 million people, however many people are under the gun here. So I want everybody to take this risk very seriously. I think we're going to be live for this for an extended period of time, and it's going to be a destructive day of severe weather. As of right now, the latest trends, at least from what I can tell, point towards Saturday being a much more robust day on the tornado side. So we do have a slight risk for severe weather from Ohio and Pennsylvania all the way back down towards Louisiana and Florida. And then that orange area there from southeast Tennessee down back towards the Gulf Coast is a day 4, 30% risk of severe weather. And this is where I think we're especially going to have a big problem with potential tornadoes. I think we're going to have more supercells, more large hail, more tornado risk with the Saturday storm system than we will with the Friday system. But the Friday system is no joke, and we can't rule out even a couple of strong tornadoes even on Friday as our big storm system comes into play here. Thursday, March 13th, we're going to have heavy snow in Idaho down into portions of California, maybe even some heavy rain down here in southwest California. The entire coast of California, Oregon, and Washington is going to get doused by a lot of precipitation here as the storm system comes over into the Intermountain West. But once again, like I mentioned yesterday, the real danger of this storm system doesn't present itself until it crosses over the leeward side of the Rocky Mountains and begins to undergo cyclogenesis over the plains. And when that starts happening with this storm system, it is going to happen very quickly, and we're going to have a very deep low pressure center, maybe 980 to 970 millibars. And you can see between 5 and 8 p.m. on Monday, we're going to have a ring or an arc of storms forming around the area where the cool, dry air from that powerful low pressure center meets the thin band of moisture that's gotten sucked up from the Gulf all the way up into Iowa and Minnesota here. And where that collision happens, we are going to see a destructive squall line of severe storms form. I wouldn't be surprised to see 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts embedded in this thing. And this is going to be happening once again between 5 and 8 p.m. on Friday. This will move into the Des Moines area, the Cedar Rapids area, maybe a little bit later, closer to 10 or 11 p.m. And then around that time, that's when things become a little bit more interesting on Friday in terms of supercellular activity. So down here on the southern side of that line, there's going to be some more moisture. There's going to be some more instability down here around Memphis, for example, and maybe between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or so, that's when we will actually have the biggest tornado threat, maybe from extreme southern Illinois all the way down into northern portions of Mississippi and Alabama. It's too early right now to talk about very specific details there, but I think that the main threat is going to be straight line damaging winds on Friday. We kind of just went over the timing there, but if there is going to be a tornado threat, it's going to unfortunately be a nocturnal tornado threat, and we've got to be aware of that and prepared for it if we live down there. Now watch what happens here as I push this even farther into the future. Here we are on Saturday around 2 p.m. Our initial storm system, the squall line here, is completely bowed out and it's now over Canada and it's still producing strong winds, but it's not really a severe weather maker anymore. So where is the Saturday risk coming from? It's actually coming from a secondary system that's forming along the trough here. Juicy air from the Gulf is going to be fueling this thing. We talked about how we had limited moisture with the Friday system. That is not going to be the case with the Saturday system. Check it out. Watch this wave of extreme winds coming over the Rockies crash into the warm sector here about 2 to 5 p.m. on Friday. That collision is going to be what sparks our severe storms and our squall line up here in Missouri, Iowa, into Illinois. But watch what happens. While all that is going on, we continue to see moisture transport from the Gulf up into the southern United States. And it's not really being worked over. There's no predicted major precipitation that's going to be happening down here Friday night into Saturday morning. So that means that it's just going to continue to bubble up all the way until the heating of the day on Saturday, when that secondary low forms along the trough here and produces our, in my opinion, our main event, which will take place on Saturday. So once again, keep in mind where this very significant bulb of high dew points are here around 2 p.m. on Saturday. And now let's talk about the lower level jet stream winds, because this is important when it comes to tornadoes, right? We always look at this, and this helps us determine how much wind shear we could potentially have. On Friday, there's going to be a decent amount of low-level jet stream winds present here in the warm sector for these storms to interact with. So anytime you see the browns, and especially the light browns and the whites, that's really high low-level jet stream winds, and if they're oriented correctly with the storm vectors, that can cause tornadoes. But the thing is that we're not going to have a lot of supercellular activity here. So if we get tornadoes with the line of storms in Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois, I think they'll be embedded. Maybe, hopefully, there won't be long track violent tornadoes. And the reason for that is because the moisture is pretty displaced with the highest low-level jet winds. But watch what happens as we go into Saturday. So our low-level jet continues to increase over here, but remember, by the time it gets into Ohio, Michigan, and Canada, there's no moisture left really for these storms to work with. And that's not to say that there might still be some storms left over and there's still going to be some strong winds, but it's not going to be a huge tornado threat until we get deeper into the day on Saturday. Notice how a new low-level jet streak forms over the Gulf, right in line with where we have some of those really high dew points showing up next to the meso-low that's forming in Louisiana. If this actually happens here, and this is at 2 p.m., we expect the low-level winds to increase as we go farther into the day, we are going to have ourselves a really bad situation here. The way this is currently modeled, this looks like something that the Storm Prediction Center could potentially issue a high risk for. Now, of course, this could change. It's 4 days away, and let's hope for that, because if it doesn't change, this is going to be a destructive day of severe weather in the Deep South. And unfortunately, that's all I can tell you right now about that specific part of the storm. It's still too far out. We don't have our convection of allowing models in. I can't tell you about timing or anything like that yet. You'll have to check back in tomorrow and the next day to get more information on that. But just know that anywhere in the dark orange shaded area there, I think that this is the real deal. This looks pretty serious, and I think that you should start preparing now to kind of have your plan together for what you're going to do whenever that tornado warning comes through. This includes Chattanooga. This includes Atlanta. This includes Huntsville, Birmingham, Mobile, the whole state of Alabama, most of the state of Mississippi, and a little bit of Louisiana. Please take this one seriously. And then the farther north we go into Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, the severe weather risk is there, but it's not quite as robust as what we're seeing farther to the south. And it's one of those things where we need more information to know the details. So tune back in tomorrow and I'll be able to tell you more. And we're about to dive very deeply into that. But before we do, I have to shout out today's very awesome sponsor. Trade Coffee. Don't just need your coffee, love it. I know we've got a lot of coffee lovers out there, so it's time to talk about Trade Coffee. This is a coffee subscription that's a legit game changer if you're a big fan of coffee and always on the hunt for that perfect cup. They're #1 in the US in the specialty coffee marketplace, bringing you the freshest coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. One of the coolest things about Trade Coffee is they offer you this awesome quiz that you can take in under a minute, and it's going to match you with a coffee roaster post that's literally perfect for you. The team here at the Weather House drinks a lot of coffee, and of course everybody wanted to take this quiz, and it recommended us this awesome bag right here from Perk Coffee. The bag by itself is cool enough, and the team here at the Weather House says that the coffee is even better. This one was roasted just a few days ago and sent straight to our doorstep. So right now, Trade is offering an exclusive offer for Ryan Hall y'all watchers. If you click that link in the description, you're going to be able to get 40% off your first order. That's DrinkTrade, trade.com/y'all for 40% off your first order. Link in the top of the description, and huge shout out to Trade Coffee for sponsoring the video. Now let's get back into the forecast. So let's look at the progression of this storm system once again. Potentially a very damaging wind event on Friday, and then maybe an overnight tornado event, and then an all-day tornado event on Saturday. Of course, this continues to move off to the east, and there is a slight risk on the day 5 outlook for the entire eastern seaboard. About 50 million people are under the gun there, but it's too early to talk about that right now. We don't know the details. But what we do know is that there's more to this storm than just the severe weather side. On the backside where it's cold, we're going to have ourselves a blizzard in South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, and maybe even parts of Nebraska. And the snow totals have bumped up a little bit here. Now it's looking like there's a couple places that might see 3 to 6 inches of snow, especially in eastern South Dakota and up into northwestern portions of Minnesota. It doesn't look like we're going to get buried with snow. I keep saying that because a lot of people associate blizzard with feet of snow. That's not this kind of storm. The big problem here is going to be the snow and the wind. That's right. During this storm, we could be talking about 50 to 70 mile per hour winds in Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota. This is going to be a blizzard in every sense of the term. So make sure you are prepared for significant travel delays all around this storm, but especially on the backside on those roads, as the blowing and drifting snow is going to be quite intense. Also, if I push this back, I just look at the winds. Like everybody in the United States pretty much is going to get hit by this storm in some way, even if it's just strong winds. Even outside of the thunderstorms that will be moving through here in Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee on Saturday morning, we could see wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, just not even associated with thunderstorms. And if we get thunderstorms on top of that, we could see higher embedded gusts. So it's going to be a very long period of severe weather in multiple different modes. But one of the really concerning things about the wind is the moment that they cross over the Rockies into the Front Range here, over into eastern New Mexico, northern portions of Texas, over into southern Oklahoma, this is going to cause significant wildfire problems. And this is going to be way bigger than the one that we just dealt with. I think we're going to have a lot more wildfires. This is going to be a dangerous situation, so I just want everybody to be aware of that. And in fact, we still have our very large critical fire weather outlook that now goes all the way up into Kansas here as a result of those very strong dry winds rocketing up into the low pressure center that will be deepening up here in Iowa. This is 100% going to happen, so make sure you're ready for that. And then also, we've got a little system coming through today that's actually going to bring about enough winds and enough dry conditions to cause a extremely critical fire weather outlook today, Wednesday, March 12th. So this is going to be an ongoing problem for about a week. There's obviously a lot to talk about here on the severe weather side, but I'm trying my best to make sure we include every aspect of the storm. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in Texas, this is going to be a big deal for you. Speaking of Texas and speaking of today, this all starts with a little severe weather outbreak tonight in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. This is going to be driven by a hail risk. I don't think the tornado risk is that high, but we'll be watching it just in case. But this is going to be the first of several days of severe weather that we're going to be having here over the next, well, honestly, the foreseeable future. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned it here. This afternoon, around 5 to 6 p.m., we're going to have some cells popping up around Dallas, and they're going to explode into supercells, especially over there in southeastern Oklahoma, and as they cross over the border into Arkansas and Louisiana. These are going to be monster hail producers. Wouldn't be surprised to see some baseballs associated with these. So yeah, make sure you're ready for that, and just know that this is a little bit of a precursor, a little bit of an appetizer leading up to what will be our major multi-day severe weather outbreak. And then looking farther into the future, once we get into next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, for the most part, look normal and somewhat quiet across the country, which will be welcomed. We're going to have some above average temperatures in the east, and things are going to slowly but surely get more and more cooler in the west, leading to more disruptive storms forming like the one that we're dealing with right now. So I do think that March is going to continue to be active as we go through March 25th. I think that Thursday, Friday next week, we'll start talking about our next storm system, which will likely bring about more severe weather. And then there will be another one after that. So this is just a really good opportunity to talk about how important it is to be prepared this time of year. We're going to have a lot of tornadoes this spring, so make sure if you live in an area that has to deal with that, you and your family are prepared. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Just have a plan in place. Practice it with your family, your coworkers. That's like the number one thing you can do to come out of these situations unscathed. And of course, follow your local National Weather Service and people like me, and just keep up with the weather and tune in whenever we do live streams, which it's looking like we're going to do a lot of them this weekend. And something else we might have to do, which of course we don't want to do, but we've got the Y'all Squad, right? Thanks to you guys, we've got this huge resource where we can help people right after storms. We've got 4 of these big purple trucks now, strategically located in various areas across the United States. We got one in Atlanta, one here in Pikeville, Kentucky. We've got one in Iowa. We've got one in Texas. We've got them in warehouses full of supplies. And thanks to you guys donating to us over at theyallsquad.org, we're going to be able to help people the moment they need it with supplies. And then, of course, we're able to do stuff on top of that as well. We're still going to assist with the Y'all Hub, cooking free food for people, and all the other stuff that we do. But this is our big thing that we're focusing on this year, is that rapid response with supplies. You know, I don't want to see it in action, but I'm really proud of what we've been able to put together, and hopefully we're able to help some people that unfortunately are going to need it after these big upcoming outbreaks. And my goodness, this video is very long. That's just how you know it's a busy, severe weather situation. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on. We're going live Friday for sure, Saturday for sure, maybe even Sunday. I'll have another video tomorrow with a lot more information. Make sure you share this on social media. There's going to be a lot of hype out there. There's going to be a lot of misinformation. There's going to be a lot of crazy stuff as you know, the news comes out about what's getting ready to happen. So let's try our best to get real science-based, data-driven information out there to as many people as possible, so that everybody's not scared, but rather prepared. Also, before we end the video, huge shout out to Trade Coffee. Thank you so much for sponsoring. We love you here, and thank you guys for going and checking them out. Link in the description. Click it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.